Twinkle, twinkle, little star,
It's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is a fun one. It is with Natalie. I'm sorry, Natalie, if I fuck up your name. Natalie Calzadilla. Calzadilla. Natalie Calzadilla. She is the host of a podcast called Pachanga and Possability Podcast. All things shamanic and spirituality. You know, she's on the path of healing and helping people heal themselves within themselves. So it was a lovely conversation. She had a few incidences recently with some spirits, spiritual orbs to be exact. She has a young daughter, daughter, and she's a shamanic practitioner. So she also has created some coloring books, and she is an artist. So you should go follow her on Instagram, Natalie Calzadilla. There, I believe she says she's on Facebook too. But go find her Linktree, get on her Patreon, get on her Etsy. She's got a lot of stuff going on, and I feel blessed to have had her be a guest and get the opportunity to share space with her and talk with her about, you know, her experiences and, you know, how just connecting with somebody like her. I mean, everybody is special to me, and I connect with everybody that I've had on. So I'm not like dismissing anybody else. I'm just saying, like, it was lovely to talk to her. She's a lovely person. So please show her some love on her Instagram and her own podcast. So with that being said, I will be vending at Encounter Quest in April. So if you're down to Drizown, head on over to Hamlet, North Carolina on April 13th. I believe it's 10 to 5, but I could be wrong. Also, I'm vending at 40 and Fest. Go if you want to vend or be a speaker. You can find 40 and Fest on Facebook. That's where you can buy the tickets and whatnot. And even if you're just going to spectate or whatever, but I will be vending over there as well. That's June 8th, right here in Sanford, Maine, 9 to 3 at the Memorial Gym. So, with that being said, I started a new podcast with my kids. I might have said something about it in one of the intros, but for some reason, YouTube does not want to post the videos. I need to, I don't know, like validate my fucking page or some shit like that. But I made a separate email for that YouTube on Gmail on Google, and Google shut my fucking email off and almost shut my email off for this. So I was like, what the fuck is going on? So they deleted, YouTube deleted my channel for that podcast, but I made a new one and I'm trying to upload shit to it, but it's just not working out. So, but I just wanted to update you, everybody, on that if you are struggling to find that on YouTube. But hopefully tonight or tomorrow, I'll have it up. So, anyways, if you like today's show, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. Leave a rating and a review. I believe reviews on TikTok. You can also comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. I'd appreciate that as well. So yeah, if you leave a review, I will read it on here and all that. I think right now, I think Spotify is doing like a Q&A where you can technically leave like a review on like specific episodes though. So I got one on Angel's episode. Somebody said that they've been following her for a long time and it was nice to listen to her on a podcast and stuff like that. But I guess Apple is the best way for reviews. Good Pods, I don't really check that one though, but I try and check Apple like once in a while when I remember. But anyways, shout out to Middle-Aged and Creeped Out. Please go check out that podcast if you haven't. Unfiltered Rise, check that podcast out. That is an interesting one and you won't be disappointed, I promise, especially if you're conspiratorial minded and you know that our history has been a bit fabricated. Also, check out the guys at Cryptid Warfare. They're doing amazing shit, and check out their podcast. I mean, if you're not listening to that podcast, then you are fucking crazy. Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky, another amazing podcast. And Jeff over at Strangeology, had a very brief conversation with him. Nothing spectacular, but he's I've been listening to his podcast for I don't know, for a while now, and it just off and on. But it's a good podcast if you're interested. Also, Pachanga and Possability Podcast. That's a good one too. Jam. So, anywho, if you are interested in being featured on the show, you want to talk about your stories, your encounters, if you're a researcher or whatnot, or author, and you want to talk about your book, shoot me an email at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you. If you want to be like anonymous, that's fine too. We don't have to do video. I can do audio only, where nobody sees your face and they don't need to know your name. So if that's something that you're worried about, I can accommodate for that. I just want you to know that. But the more you talk about your experiences, the better it is for you. So I just want to provide that avenue for you. If you're interested, obviously you don't have to take me up on it. I'm just some fucking guy talking into a microphone. So, with that being said, again, it's wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. So if you want to tell your story, definitely get me on there. And if you're interested in merch, it's etsy.com/shop/wheretheweirdonesare. That is pretty much the main way to really support the show. Yeah, take a picture of you wearing a t-shirt. I will definitely share it, post it on the Instagram and the Facebook. So anyways, with that being said, Let's fucking get into it, man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
So, Natalie, if I say that correctly, because I don't know if I ever say people's names correctly, that I say it how they look.
Yeah, no,
But
I
I know
appreciate it. It's Natalie.
is Natalie. All right, perfect. Because I know a lot of people like to say their names a little bit differently. And my daughter was hovering over my shoulder the other day when I was looking at your Instagram, and she's like, "Who's Natalie?" I was like, "Oh, maybe that's the way she says it."
Natalie. I have not gotten Natalie in 43 years. That is
That's
so true.
funny. So, you have a podcast of your own. So I would like for you, if you to just plug your podcast, how what is that you do on your podcast, what you talk about, how you got into it, and everything for the people that listen to this.
Absolutely. So the name of my podcast is called Pachanga and Possability. It's a spiritual podcast where I cover different spiritual healing modalities, and we celebrate the journey of healing emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I also talk about more paranormal things also that I'm bringing to season 3, just because I've gotten more into the paranormal this last year after my dad's passing in 2020. But the original intention of the podcast was for me to be able to bring like this buffet of different healing modalities for people who are on their healing journey from anxiety, low self-worth, low self-esteem, depression, stress, like anything under the sun, because a lot of those modalities, some of those modalities are what helped me and my journey to create my self-worth and learn to love myself and really get to a place of like healing and wholeness, so then I can step into my purpose and be able to act on my passions. And I wanted to bring just my background as an energy healer and spiritual coach and an illustrator to the forefront, and just to be able to share what I've learned along the way, and as well as bringing in amazing thought leaders in spirituality to share what they've learned. And if any episode can transform someone's life, then it was all worth it.
Nice. That's a good aspect to for a podcast, and in my point of view. I enjoy helping people heal mentally and all that too. That's one of the reasons why I started my podcast was, people have these paranormal, these crazy, weird, strange experiences, and they don't talk about it, or they think that they're crazy and that they're losing their mind, or the people around them that they end up telling kind of make them feel that way, and they isolate themselves. So,
Absolutely. It's a real thing. Yeah. It's
yeah,
important that there's a safe space for people to talk about these experiences, because you're right. They might feel like they're going crazy when they're legit experiences.
exactly. So, where can people find your podcast?
My podcast is on Apple and Spotify. So the easiest way is either to go to nataliecalzadilla.com or to go to anchor.fm/pachanga, which is a Spanish word, which means party, like a really good party in Spanish.
I
But
kind of felt like that's what that meant, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was going to ask you, so I'm glad you said I'm
yeah,
glad you
yeah.
said so.
Well, you can feel it, right? Just in the way, like in the word, you can feel the energy behind it. So it was just like celebrating like what's possible. I have a Cuban American background, so that's why there's a lot of Spanglish in my podcast, and there's a really big like Latin flavor and lens to my stuff. Because I bring in kind of who I am into what I do. But
Yeah.
that's the background is celebrating that healing journey and all the world of mysticism.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're also a shamanic practitioner
Mhm.
as well. What I guess when did that like come about? Was that always like a part of your plan as you're growing up
Oh.
and everything, or?
Absolutely not. I grew up in a traditional, like Catholic slash Christian household. My mom was Catholic, my sister was Christian, my dad was atheist, and I was daddy's little girl, and I was somewhere in between, just kind of observing. So, like, I would stay home with my dad while my mom and sister went to church, and me and my dad were like, yeah, that's not for us. So, I was always interested in the paranormal and we always loved ghosts. And my dad was really big into aliens, and
Oh
we were
no.
always like looking up at the skies. And we had like my dad had a really big UFO sighting experience when he was a teenager in Cuba. And then I had one when I was a teenager in Miami. So we had kind of like that background of the unexplainable. And I didn't know about shamanism whatsoever. And I wish I did, because I feel like it would have been a blessing to grow up in that environment where you're so connected with everything around you and with nature. And it's just a different way to experience divinity and spirit. But I fell into the practice in 2012 after meeting a shaman, a woman that was part of our community, and they were holding meditation circles in her home, and she just kind of was sharing what she knew. And then I started learning from the mystery school that she had attended 20 years before that, and that just set me on that shamanic path and learning from various teachers. And then ultimately just learning on my own also, which I wasn't comfortable with because I'm very much the type of person that likes structure and curriculums and to have things like laid out, like this is how you do it, and this is the framework, and we're going to learn X, Y, and Z, and like very linear. And Spirit was like, that's cute. Like you've got that already. Like you are super linear. So we're just gonna like force you to trust your intuition, and you're gonna learn via direct revelation during shamanic journeys and like these transcendental like experiences. And you're gonna just have to trust that what you're getting is legit. And I'm like, oh great.
That's funny. So since you bring it up, because I always end up asking for like UFO sightings and stuff like that towards the end. But what was that experience in Miami that you had? What was that like? If you don't
Uh,
mind telling that story.
yeah, no, I didn't even think about bringing up UFOs, but they're two. I'll share my dad's to kind of help like make sure his legacy lives on, and I'll share mine.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
my dad he was playing baseball as a teenager in Cuba, and a huge flying saucer in broad daylight just like hovered over the baseball field. Everyone saw it. Yeah. And he was like, how can I not believe? Like, there's just like it's very like black and white at that point. There's no like, did you see this? Did I see this? No, like everybody saw this. It was in 1950 something. He said, I have like an audio clip somewhere in my archives of him saying, like, don't forget that I saw this year, in like a WhatsApp audio. And he just saw in broad daylight a big flying saucer just chilling over the big baseball field in the middle of a game. And ever since then, he's like, we're not alone. And there's a lot that we don't understand and we don't know what's out there, and they're out there.
Yeah.
Um,
What, did it just take off? Did he say?
I,
Hovered there for like a minute or
you know
so,
what? He
or?
didn't. I never asked. Now that I think about it, I never asked, like, well, what happened, how long they were there. I don't remember even asking for details. I think I just stayed at that moment of like, no way, like that's so
Yeah, right.
wild. Maybe my sister knows, I wonder. But then fast forward, I was a teen in Miami and I was living in an apartment complex and I'm just like chilling in my balcony by myself at night. And I see that there's these flying, like three balls of light that are flying in very weird patterns in the sky.
Mm.
And they were like reddish, almost like reddish yellowish like lights, but they behaved in that typical UFO sighting pattern. They would like fly, stop, and move, and then fly this way. And it was like all of that typical like sighting pattern.
Huh?
And I saw that and I was just like, dude, this has to be a UFO. Like this is wild. Like nothing can fly in that way. And then I go inside. It's like the end of the night, and I watch the 11 o'clock news with my mom on TV. And it says UFO sightings over this part of Miami.
My
And I was
God.
like, yes, like it totally validated like exactly what I saw, where I saw it, the direction. Like it was just confirmed that that's the experience that I had. And I'm so grateful that I saw that news segment because it confirmed everything for me. So then now it was me and my dad being firm believers that there's stuff out there.
Nice. Did you guys did that well, obviously you said you were a daddy's girl, but both of you having the sightings and stuff to like go off of that like create a stronger bond, you think, or
Oh, absolutely. Like we always bonded over everything unexplained. And my dad was also a medium in denial. He was always able to see spirits and to
oh,
have like precognitive like dreams. And he just kind of imagine we're talking about like a typical old Cuban guy. Like this is not like a hippie or anything. Like he was my dad died at 80 years old. Like we're talking like old school, very proper, not um grew up not part of even the metaphysical world, like none of that, or even to say like old school Cuban spirituality or witchcraft, that there's also like that side of Cuban spirituality. Like he wasn't involved in any of that. So he just kind of held like these experiences close to his heart and would share it with like me and my sister and my mom. And he would tell us, I had a dream that something was happening, that they were robbing a bank, and then I wake up and then I find out they just robbed the bank down the street. And something, I think he had another dream about something. Like he would have like these moments of these dreams, and then as he got occasionally throughout his life, it'd be like, I saw a spirit in the house, or I saw these, there's stuff in wherever I'm living right now. And he saw them a lot more towards the end of his life. Like I feel like the last like 5 years of his life, like it amped up because he was telling me about having experiences all the time, that there was just stuff, especially this one house that he and his wife rented. He's like, there's shit in this house. He's like, and it is not nice. And I don't want you to see what I see. Like he really didn't want me to have the gift of seeing, because he saw things like in 3D, like not how I see them in my mind's eye. And you can do like clairvoyance in your mind's eye, and then some people just see legit outside, and he saw them plain as day. Um, and he didn't want that for me because he said it wasn't pleasant.
I got you. I got you. I sometimes I feel like I'm a medium in denial because that's kind of like sort of the things that you just said kind of like goes happens to me a little bit. Not like 100% the same exact way, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little more empathic than I like to think that I am.
Hmm.
Um, but that's really interesting. Um,
I believe it. You
so
probably are.
yeah, I mean maybe I like there was there's been people on that I've had on the podcast, like to be specific, I can't I think it was episode 30. 32 maybe. They were two women. They're both mediums and they have a podcast together. And one of them was talking, and I was just like, are you about to cry, or are you nervous or something? And she's like, I'm very nervous telling you the story. And I was just like, well, I feel like
Felt it.
a little anxiety right now inside of me, like, and I kind of feel like water is about to like just start pouring out of my eyeballs right now. And she's like, that's exactly how I feel. And I was like, what? That's crazy.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
like at the end, when we were like just like done recording and we were just kind of
Mhm.
reflecting on everything, they were like, maybe you have a little something.
Yeah, that's your tuition. That's called clairsentience, the clear feeling where you're able to pick up on what they were feeling.
Yeah.
And that was your intuitive hit. You knew what was
Yeah.
going on.
It was the most bizarre thing, especially through
Yeah,
through
online,
Zoom like
virtually.
this. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think a lot of us have, things like that. Maybe not everybody
Mhm.
has the same exact thing, but I think everybody has like a little bit more to them than they know. And I think also like podcasts like yours, mine, other people that talk about like this weird stuff, and like healing and mental health and all that. I think it helps you like realize that all of us are more special than we have been led to believe, whether you think it's a random secret society that's trying to keep uh the world at controlled or whatever, or it's just the way that the human condition is,
Mhm.
that we just think that we're not special when I think we are all are special.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're all very, it's natural. Like being intuitive is a natural part of being human. And
Yeah.
they think it's like a special superpower, and it's no, it's just part of being human. And we are
Mhm.
all essentially connected in some unseen field that we can't explain, but it's very much real. And the way that you were able to connect with her energetically via Zoom in two very different places on the planet, there's a time and space that we don't understand, that we all are all together.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. It's just like trees and plants and out in nature, they all connect underground by through
Mhm.
energy.
Mhm.
So it it's the world is pretty interesting if you stop and take a look. But
100%.
but
We're just gonna go for. Oh, we don't have. Don't know if I'm gonna need. Do I need a thumbnail for this one? I don't know. Are we ready? If you love all things dark history and paranormal, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm. What was that? Do you hear that? I'm trying to record the introduction for my brand new YouTube channel, and there are noises coming from behind me, which there shouldn't be. Like, I'm completely home alone right now. It's a B&M chair. Cheap LEDs. It's just cardboard boxes. It's a puppy! Hi! And there's also a cat. There are no ghosts. I made it all up. I know I got you with my good acting. Yeah, no, that's not what we're doing here. Because be real with me, have you ever found yourself 4 hours into a binge of a ghost hunting show with the shaking night vision camera footage and the wide-eyed ghost hunters screaming at their own shadows thinking, there is absolutely no way this is real? Yeah, me too. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I am more interested in the history of a haunted house and the origins of an urban legend and the actual lived experiences of people that have encountered paranormal activity firsthand, rather than watching a group of people filming themselves in a dark room. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing ghost investigators, especially on YouTube. Like, some of the investigations that I've seen are amazing, and I do absolutely live for a Class 8 EVP or like a terrifying image of a shadow figure. But most of the time, the context and the history make the haunting so much more compelling for me. And if that sounds like a bit of you, then I think we've just become best friends. So you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, because every week we are going to be sitting down and swapping ghost stories like a good old sleepover, chatting about all things morbid, mysterious, and macabre. Have you got a paranormal experience that you'd like to share, or do you know of a haunted location that you'd like me to cover? please leave me a comment or throw me a DM over on Instagram. You can find me at Don't Scare Claire. I absolutely love hearing all about your encounters with what lies beyond our realm. I cannot wait to get into all the spooky things with you, and maybe we might learn a thing or two about some history too. I know, I promise I won't be like your boring history teacher. But until next time, sleep safe. You showing everyone your butthole? Yeah. That's not stable. I would not lean on that. Okay, we're done.
But anyways, Natalie, so let's get into some of your paranormal experiences. However you want to do it, oh my god, I'm gonna stop trying to say that word because I always mess it
Chronologically.
up. Yeah, chronologically. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter, more significant or backwards, however you want to do
Gotcha.
it.
I have a list, but it's not in any specific order, but it's all things that have happened recently ever since I moved into this house, which I moved into this house in 2020. So before then, I had different experiences with like spirits waking me up in my sleep and calling out my name. And like when I was a kid, like a spirit like put their hand on my shoulder while I was sleeping, and I had different things like that. But the ones that I kind of made a list of because they're so recent are the ones ever since I moved in here. And I'll start with the most memorable one for me.
Okay.
Because of the way it transpired, it was very cool. So none of this is like crazy. Like it's not like poltergeist level shit. It's not that intense. It's more like cute orbs kind of hanging around more than anything else. But what was super cool was that because now we have so much technology available to us because of the Ring cameras and the nanny cams and all of these things and our phones, we're catching footage like crazy all over the world because of all this technology now. And that's why Paranormal Common Camera, like that show, which is like one of my favorites, has like tons of stuff because we're recording everything all the time. And that's exactly kind of what happened in the house. I feel like we moved in this house and I had a baby. So all of a sudden I have like a ton of technology around because I'm keeping tabs on her and there's cameras everywhere. And then I'm like, it's a house, not an apartment. So there's like Ring cameras and security cameras, and we're just like more on top of that. So I'm with my sister one night. We're hanging out. I think we were even watching that show, Paranormal Caught on Camera. And I don't work for them. I'm not like trying to plug their show or anything. But that's like how her and I bond. We watch all of these like ghost shows. And the baby wakes up. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me go to the room and put her back to bed. You know, something woke her up. So I'm in the room and I'm holding her, and as I'm pacing in the room, I feel, and this is the best way I can describe it. And now what I learned is that I felt like the frequency or EMF or something change in the room, because I would walk and it would feel like I was changing like through a force field. I don't know how to describe it. I was like, and I would feel it, and it felt like super clear, like if someone's shooting like a laser, like that's like I felt like a wall of energy, and it would shift. And then I'm in and I'm holding the baby and I'm doing this like, and I'm sticking my head in it, and then I'm sticking my head out of it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like I legit feel like something is moving. It's like there's something in this room and it's crossing like right through here. And I was just like, this is the trippiest feeling. And I can feel it in my ears and in my head. And I was like, there's some frequency or something is happening right now that I'm sensing. And mind you, I'm still holding the baby while I'm trying to like navigate what is going on quietly, right? And I just look like I'm crazy on the camera, that I'm just like, what the hell? And I'm doing this shit and I'm looking around and I'm like, what am I feeling? And I'm looking at the cameras. I'm trying to see like, what can I be moving through? And then I kind of just forget about it. I finish putting her back to sleep. I put her back in the crib and I walk out. And before I can even get a word out of my mouth, my sister's standing by the nanny cam in the kitchen, and she was watching me the whole time. And she goes, dude, there was orbs in the room. And I was like, get out. She goes, there was legit orbs flying through the room. And I was like, mind you, her and I have never had an experience together. We're not orb hunting on a regular basis. It's not something that we've like been like, oh, let's watch the cameras and see if we catch one. Like this had never even been a subject of ours, even though we like watching these shows. And I was like, shut up. No, wait. Like, are you serious? And I was like, I can't believe you're telling me this because I felt there's some energetic shift in the room that I've never perceived before. Like, I'm an intuitive and I have my clairs developed and I do readings and stuff like that. But it's always been like on the healing space, not so much like I never do really medium. I don't do mediumship work. It's more just intuitive stuff. And I felt like this sort of antenna that I can feel this like shift in the energy. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I just felt this. And I explained to her everything I just explained to you. And she was like, get out. No way. I'm like, yes. So then I'm like downloading the footage off of Google. I'm slowing it down. And we're like looking at the orbs and they start flying like through the room and across. And they're flying intelligently. It's not like a bug. And they all seem to be coming from like above the window, almost like there's like a portal or something that's like above the window and they're flying out of this window, which is really, it's like the crib and then the window and then this hole, which is a little concerning. And they fly out and they fly across, then they fly through the camera and another one comes out, they fly through the camera across. Then this is where I'm like, oh, I have a bunk bed. The girls have a bunk bed and the bottom has, it's like a little loungy area and I have curtains there. So nobody sleeps under there. It's just like a chilling space. And they were like flying into there and coming out. And I was like, this thing, I was like, whatever's flying is like also was like, let me come out of this room and let me go back into this room behind these curtains, which gave the whole curtain thing a super creepy vibe. And I was like, what? And I was like, never are those things closed at night ever. I always have them open now. But that was like the experience. And I had the footage, I slowed it down, I shared it on Instagram. And that was like a really cool one and nothing crazy happened. And outside of that, other than like her experience matched my experience and it was confirmation that like legit something was happening. So I know how to like clear the energy of spaces and set like a protective space. So the next day to be, just to have energetic hygiene and responsibility, because whatever it was, I don't care who you are and if you're a friendly ghost or not, like you can't be chilling in my daughter's bedroom, right? And because if it was somewhere else, I'm like, maybe, but not in my kids' room. Like they're the most vulnerable. So I went in there and I was like connecting with what was there, and it felt like it was just spirits passing by and not even to say like my dad checking in on my daughter or something. It was just like passerby, because it seems like in my experience, ever since I've been living here, that we just kind of pick up, kind of like how we pick up germs when we go out. I feel like sometimes we kind of pick up extra people and they kind of tag along and see what's going on and they keep on going like passerbyers. And because I'll clear a space and I won't have any activity for months. And then all of a sudden there's activity again. And then I'll clear the space and there's no activity for a while. And then there's activity again. So it feels like the clearing works, but then for some reason or another, like things tend to kind of come in again. And at the same level, like nothing crazy. And I'm not having like poltergeist or anything, but I just feel like we're always surrounded by spirit. Like I feel like we're never really alone. We're always surrounded, whether we sense it or not. There's very much another plane that coexists along ours, and it's normal, and if we have family members on the other side, they are around, they are listening, they are take on the roles of being guardian angels for, like, I feel like my dad is the guardian angel for my daughter and watching over my daughter. And so that was that experience. Then Are you ready
That
for the
that
next one, or do you have a quick
yeah,
question?
I just wanted to comment that number one, it's really cool that your sister was there to witness it for the confirmation, like you said. Um, Two, I do 100% believe that there's spirits and energy around us all the time because I believe our realms run parallel next to each other, and sometimes they intermingle. It's just like what I say about like shadow figures. Sometimes I wonder if that is just like us peeking into the other realm or them peeking into the other. Maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing or a demonic thing, which a lot of people
Right.
tend to plug shadow people into, demons. Which sometimes I feel like they probably can be.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in the angel and demon um, aspect, which I think that there probably are those aspects, but I just because I think I'm gonna have to go through your Instagram and find that video because you just putting your head forward and then stepping back is
I
probably
don't know if
pretty
I think
comedic.
when it was, I don't know if I edited that piece in. I think I only put already, like, I started the video from the orbs, like just to
Oh,
show the orbs. I don't know if I put that part in there.
uh,
I should have. Eh, so the
that's
next
funny.
story is, this one was cute. And this one happened before even this one. So I'm in the bathroom with my daughter. I'm bathing her, and we're having like a jam session in the bathroom. Like, she's singing, I'm singing, she's drumming. Like, I have like this whole like reggaeton beat going on. Like, like, we are just jamming and having like a great time, right? Just being silly. And the bathroom trash can is it has the sensor on it to open and close it, and it just starts opening and closing and opening and closing and opening. And I was like, no way. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, maybe it's too close to like the toilet paper and it might be like triggering it. But I'm
Yeah.
like looking at it, I was like, that toilet paper is not moving, and it's close but it's not that close. And we keep on like doing our thing, and it starts again opening and closing, and I'm just like, whatever's here is jamming with us, is what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, it's like, I want in, like, we're jamming with you too. So then I forget about it. I wrap up the shower, and as I finally like finish picking up the stuff in the bathroom, and my daughter like leaves the bathroom, I'm like, you know what? Let me just take some flash pictures to see if I capture anything, because I know something was here. And I'm like, let me just shoot a few pictures. And as I shoot one of the pictures, I see, as I take the picture, two orbs just fly in front of the camera. And I was like, yes, I got it. I was like, no way. And then I go back to see the picture, and there's nothing there. And I was like, bullshit. I know that I took this picture of these freaking orbs, and it was a live photo on Apple. So when I went into the live photo settings and I looked at it frame by frame, there they were. So it didn't save like the frame with the orbs.
Right.
It was like in the collection. And then I was able to then like open it up, save it, slow it down, and then you can see like the two orbs like fly into the frame, fly through the bathtub and like out the other side. And I was like, I knew it. It was there. I was like,
Wow.
so cool.
That is
So that was,
cool.
yeah, that was a funny one. Um, then what was the other one? Oh, I have a, there's two things that I wanted to add. One is like some research that you're gonna find amazing, about communicating to the other side, and I'm gonna probably end with that one. And then this is a really cool topic, just a really cool story that's not mine, but that I heard that you're gonna like, since you were talking about shadow spirits.
Yep.
So this guy, I forgot, I wish I could give him credit, because he's somebody who's very active in the like paranormal investigating scene. And he has a podcast too, and I wish I knew his name. But he was saying how when he was little, he freaked out because he saw like a shadow figure in the kitchen wearing like a hoodie when he was a little kid. Then he grows up and now he's in the kitchen, he's wearing a hoodie, and when he looks, and he's in the same house, and when he looks in the hallway, he sees a little kid and he remembers. Yeah. And
Oh
so
my
he was
goodness.
like, wait, is the shadow figure that I thought was a ghost, was it my future self? And there's like, now we get into like future self and dimensions and parallel universes and I don't know what. But I found that story fascinating because, fast forward, he has the same experience in reverse. And he's like, wait, maybe it wasn't anything creepy to begin with. It was just
Yeah.
like me in another dimension already old, Um, so I just wanted to leave that as like food for thought.
Yeah, well, that's a theory that I've always had, was that shadow figures were just people either from the future or from the past, just peering into the time that we're in currently.
It could be because they seem to not mess with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
there's
just kind
other
of like
shit.
stand there.
There's other stuff that messes with you, but shadow figures, in the most part, just seem to kind of like be like creepers. Like they just kind of look around.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, thankfully I haven't, because I still think if I saw a shadow figure, I might pass out. But
Well, I mean, I've seen shadow figures my entire life.
really,
Like mostly when I was young, but I didn't really see them as an adult until I moved into this house. And this room actually used to be my bedroom. So this door right here behind me, I always have it open for the kids, if they need anything or whatever, or, God forbid, that somebody breaks into the house, I want to be
right.
able to hear it. Um, and I always see them out in that hall. So my bed would be right here in front of me, and I'd be laying here, my head against the wall, and I always would be able to like just peer out the door. Um, and they always were like in a different position out in the hallway. And then one time, the scariest incident happened here in this room, with a shadow figure that decided that it wanted to come into my room. So that one was and it was like coming right at me, and I was in a state of paralysis.
Oh
And I could see my phone sitting next to me, and they say wiggle. I didn't know this at the time, but they say wiggling your fingers or your toes can
no.
help break paralysis. And I was just like,
Okay.
I was wiggling my fingers to try and like inch my arm out to get to my phone, because it was just barely out of reach. And then finally I was able to break the paralysis, and I grabbed my phone, and like looked like it was just about to like climb onto my bed, and I lit the room up and there was nothing there. So that's the only time I've ever had a shadow figure actually, number
Like
one,
approach
move
you, right?
and approach me. Usually if I go to towards shadow figure, they just dissipate. It's really weird. So yeah, I don't know what that was, but
Yeah.
I do think that things can mask themselves as shadow figures too. So
Yeah, and we get into stuff,
yes, yeah,
looking and acting like other things, and it gets very intense. Um,
absolutely.
Another thing that happened, this one freaked me out. That this is the only thing that freaked me out in this house. Everything else has been like playful orbs or like light turning, there was like a light that would turn on and off. But this one freaked me out because it was broad daylight. I'm home alone with the baby and the dog. And I was in my sunroom, and the back doors, I have like glass back doors behind me, and I had a desk in that room at the time, and I was just like at my desk, and all of a sudden something just banged on the freaking glass, just like bang, 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 bang. And
Oh my god.
to the point that like I jumped and turned around, and the dog woke up and jumped and barked, and he was like, what the fuck? And he wakes up and starts barking, and we both look at the back door, and there was nothing there. And I expected to like turn around and see like a grown-ass man at my back door. Like that's exactly like the strength that the knock was at. that I never even expected like anything paranormal because it just legit sounded like someone was banging on the door. And the dog barking was my confirmation that I wasn't crazy. And there was nothing there. And that was the only thing that was unexplainable. And I was like, well, maybe it was like a kamikaze bird, like sometimes. And I lived this one in this one house, I swear. I lived in this house growing up where we had like kamikaze pigeons like all the time because it was like a big window that we had on top of our double doors. So I was like, okay, I can see that I'm like a dumb pigeon and I run into this glass. But that was like high up. Like this was like a back door on a one-story house. Like, why would you? And then I would expect, like, I looked for feathers on the floor. Like maybe whatever flew into this door, but it wasn't like one bang. Like they knocked, you know. So I don't know what the hell that was, and I never had anything else with that intensity or like shadiness happen after that. So that was kind of startling.
Yeah. That would have freaked me out too.
Yeah. Another one was, these are more recent. These happened within the last month. So then I had no paranormal like activity for a long time. And then recently, my daughter, my daughter was having a meltdown because she's also like 3.5. So you're gonna have this normal for them to get their toddler meltdowns. And it wasn't like an unexplainable meltdown, like she was like without a nap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think at least for one of them. And I noticed as I'm watching her have, like, I'm like looking at the monitor, making sure that that my husband doesn't need any like backup or support. So I'm just watching the monitor and having him consoling her and waiting to see if he calls my name for me to go in there. And I start seeing orbs flying in the room. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, I think she senses like stuff in the room because she's like, yeah, she's a toddler, she's having meltdowns, but it seems like a little extra. And I'm like, shit. So I'm remotely starting to like clear the room and pray over the room and starting to just like use Reiki and use my tools to like clear remotely because he's still in the room. And she still is like inconsolable. So I go in there and I'm like, hey, there's orbs in the room. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right. He's like, clear the room. And I'm like, take her outside. Like she needs, like, it was one of those that like she had to go outside and like get fresh air to like bring her out of like that baby meltdown hysteria. So he takes her outside, and that's when I go in and I drum the room, I pray over the room, I smudge the room, I holy watered the room. Like I did everything. I was like, y'all need to go home. I don't care if you're related to me, you still can't be here. Like I've really had to like close the energy down even more, because before I'd be like, nobody's allowed to be here except my dad. Like that was my prayer. But then I had to tell like my dad, like, listen, even if you're here, like you have to not be in the room. Like you can, she senses you, like she's super sensitive. Like if you want to hang out, like, or communicate with me another way, but like you can't be chilling, watching over her like that, because she knows. So I cleared the room that day. And he brought her back in. I'm like watching the cameras again. And then like I saw maybe like one or two like quickly move after he brought her back in. But then that's it. Like there was no more orbs after that. So I'm like, all right, the clearing worked. Everything's calm. She went to sleep and we were fine. Again for like a few weeks. And then she had a meltdown again. And sure enough, I go back on camera and there's like stuff on the camera again. And I'm like, what the hell?
Jeez.
I'm like, come on, man. So I did an even bigger cleansing. Then I was like, I smudged the room for that day. But then the next day I was like, all right, open all the windows, bring out like, you know, the meme quality, like level smudge sticks, and then and drum and pray and ceremony and do like the whole thing to just like clear the energy of the entire house, because I had only been doing it like specifically to her room and clean everybody and her and everything. and just kind of do a much stronger like prayer and way more intention, and more protection for her. And then it's been pretty calm after that big cleansing. I haven't had anything. Actually, no, I lie. Hold on. um, I was doing a video with her, so we were doing like an Instagram reel. Like I did like a little Instagram reel series about diabetes education because November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and her
Yep.
and I are in my room and we're talking on camera about diabetes. And as I were, and this is, as I wasn't live, I was just like recording content ahead, or was it live? I don't remember. And all of a sudden, something just, an orb just goes whoop, and it flies over my head and in between both of us, and then just pans out of the scene. And I was like, did y'all just see that right now? I was like, I legit, it was clear as day, and it was just like whoop, and it flew right, and then that was it. It was gone. And I played it back, and I'm like, yep, it's still there. There it is. And I'm like, okay, so I cleaned the house again. So it just seems like I feel like there's, I take it as, especially the way it came through and the way it moved, I feel like I still like it's my dad that hangs out, but more on my side of the house.
Yeah.
I don't sense anything like ominous or anything. It just feels like, I don't know, like normal, I guess if I could say normal. But I feel like normal still scares like my little one. So I have to
Yeah.
be very mindful of what I'm doing, and making sure that I keep everything like shut down, because I
Cool.
had been playing with EVPs because I was trying to talk to my dad, and I'm like, okay, I can't do any EVPs in the house because, just in case that's like opening up something else.
Yeah.
So like, let me not do that. And so I do them in my car or out, outside or wherever. And I did catch an EVP of my dad, which was really cool.
That is cool, actually. But I do want to say real quick before you move on.
Mhm.
I did see that. I saw that video of you and your daughter and that orb, and I watched it a couple times, trying to figure out. I'm like, well, is it a bug? But it doesn't even move like a bug. It's just like very nonchalant, like um, slow and smooth, where a bug
Right?
would kind of be like zippy. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it is definitely it was definitely an orb. So that's all I got. That's
Yeah, thanks
it's
for watching. Yeah, because
yeah,
it's
yeah, I
it's like
mean,
I'm sure you've seen a ton of stuff too, so it's always great to like hear everybody's input because you're like, what is this? It's not a bug. Is it an orb? What's happening?
yeah, yeah. It's definitely moving with intent of some kind. It almost looked like it was just going like this to your face. Like
Right?
just
And then it moved right between us. And I
yeah.
was like, who wanted to get up in this video like and make their debut? Because what
uh
timing?
right? Right. But yeah, if you want to share the time you got your dad's EVP, that'd be great.
So with my dad, I had been obviously like grief stricken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what brought me more into, I was always interested in mediumship, not so much like ghost hunting and doing paranormal investigations and that level stuff. I was always just more on like the healing side of it. And even with mediumship, it's like, how can we do mediumship readings to help you like heal and move on? Not that we don't move on, but just kind of be able to live and thrive despite the grief. And I was starting to hear about all of these like researchers and people who had lost loved ones who successfully use EVPs to communicate with their loved ones, and not in any like paranormal investigative way, but very much in a very like, I miss you, let's talk. And then we can, and people who have written books because they've have like regular dialogues with their loved ones via EVP, and there's all sorts of information. So it's nothing like spooky whatsoever. And I was like, man, my dad was so like into all of this stuff and super techie. I'm like, I'm sure my dad can figure this out on the other side and show up. and that he would totally be down for it. And with my cell phone, not even recorder just with the memo app thing, the voice memo app on the iPhone. I just did. I tried to do an EVP. Granted, it was like on an intense day. Like it might have been like Halloween or the day after for Day of the Dead or his birthday. Like it was one of these like major dates that I was like feeling major grief and I was crying and upset. And I'm like, Dad, please like come through for me. Like show me that you're still here. Like I need evidence, whatever. Let me know that you can hear me. And then one of those, when I played it back, I got a hello back, but it sounded like a Hispanic, like hello with an accent. And it almost sounded like his voice, you know, but it's hard because there's that phenomena that you like hear things that you want to hear.
Right.
But people heard it too. I posted that one too on Instagram and they're like, yeah, that sounds like hello, like a Hispanic hello. and I was like, all right, cool, you know. So that was like one experience with my dad and an EVP. Trying to think if I've caught other things, but I've kind of like were not class A EVPs where you could like hear things clearly, where you just hear there's something on there, but you can't distinguish it. And I'm like, all right, I just kind of whatever that.
In a world where true crime meets the supernatural and the unexplained.
Where true crime and chills go hand in hand.
Welcome to Total Conundrum, the podcast that explores the dark, the eerie, and the downright mysterious.
Join us as we embark on a spine-tingling journey through the mysteries that keep you up at night.
We're diving deep into true crime stories, uncovering the most baffling cases, and exploring the twisted minds behind them.
But we don't stop there. We're also exploring the paranormal, from haunted houses to cryptids and all the creepy things that go bump in the night. Get ready for some supernatural thrills.
And what sets us apart? Prepare for a dose of dark humor as we navigate through the creepy and bizarre.
We've got it all. Bone-chilling tales, banter, and mind-boggling conundrums. You won't know whether to scream or laugh.
So grab your favorite snack, turn down the lights, and join us for a roller coaster ride of true crime and the supernatural, sprinkled with a bit of comic banter.
Stay curious, stay captivated, and let's dive into the world of Total Conundrum.
Now available on your favorite podcast platform. Get ready to be captivated, creeped out, and cracked up with Total Conundrum. Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com. for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.
Well, that's I don't think I've ever tried to communicate with a loved one before, but if I ever wanted to, I think it'd be my Uncle Keith. And I actually think in when I moved into this house, it was like, I don't know, we were living here maybe like 2 months at the time. And my bedroom was across the hall at the time. My son was in this room, and then I realized, you know what, this room was too small for my son, and I only sleep in my bedroom. So I ended up giving him my room, and that's why I ended up in here. But I've since converted my bedroom into a living space downstairs that was more like meant as a dining room, but um, I needed this space for the baby and for the studio, so but anyways, so I was in the room across the hall, and I was just had my dog laying her head on my hip, and I was facing away from the door, and she picks up her head like she's looking at somebody walking into the room. And then I felt, the bed just kind of like way down, like somebody had just sat
Mm-hmm.
on the bed right next to my feet. And I just like laid there, and I was like stuck in like that paralysis again. But like right as soon as I felt that fear, it was like a sensation of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I knew that it was my uncle,
Mm-hmm.
just like there to be like, hey, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I had just gone through like a terrible breakup. And I was just trying to like put my life back together, and I didn't know, where things were going from there at the time. And I was scared, and I was anxious and depressed off and on. Like it was those three feelings at that point in time, just rotating. So I think it was more of like a comforting thing. And I kind of sometimes I wonder if maybe he has become like a spirit guide. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's what I picked up from that. So it's it if I had to, if I was gonna try and actually communicate with a loved one, it would probably be him. I mean, he was like um a man's man, you know what I mean? Like he was
Mm-hmm.
like the epitome of like what I think a man could be, where he was helpful, he was sweet, he was kind. He cooked you food if you were hungry. He would take his shirt off his back and give it to you if you needed it. You know what I mean? That was the kind of guy he was. He was an EMT since
Wow.
forever that I know of, and um, yeah. So
Wow.
he was a special guy. So
It sounds like it. And yeah, I would think that that's a legit intuitive, like knowing that you had that it was him and you were able to sense it and you're like, I know who this is, you know.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
definitely legit. Um, I have one more thing I can share that you might find super cool. Have you heard of Sonia Rinaldi's research?
I don't think so. It's not
The
ringing a
lady
bell.
in Brazil.
No, no.
All right, so check this out. So your mind's about to be blown.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
So this woman, this is out there, but this is the closest way I can describe what she's doing. She's making like a zoom between here and the other side.
No way.
Yeah, okay. So Zoom is like the ultimate, I think, like goal, right? Of for the technology to get to that point. Will it get to that point in our lifetime? I don't know. But so this is what happens. She's able to, I don't know, she's also has like her mediumistic like qualities, but she doesn't talk about that because she's so like evidence-based research, and
Yeah.
it's called like instrumental transcommunication. I guess that research falls under that category. And she started with EVPs, and then somehow, I don't know, I don't know if it was like an intuitive hit where she'll put a photo of your loved one. Like you just sent her well, she doesn't do like random readings. Like she does this only for research. So she only takes volunteers for parents who have lost like children is like her main focus. But she'll take the photograph of your loved one. And so you'll have like the phone, then you have steam, like steam from a humidifier, right? The phone is recording the steam, and then behind the steam is the photograph of the loved one. And then she records the steam, and she'll ask questions, like it was like if she's doing like a mediumship kind of thing. She asks questions, there's a picture there, she has the steam, and then when she plays back the video frame by frame. Okay, so there's like 30 frames per second. Like it's an insane amount of frames.
Yeah.
And the person shows up at all different ages, from when they're children to adults to the age they died. If they died young, they get older and they show up like how they look now if they died as kids. They become almost 3D, where like in the photograph they're one way, but in the steam they're like their eyes move from here to there, their mouth opens and closes. They've caught one like winking. They bring loved ones. Yeah, I'm telling you, like they'll bring loved ones, so there'll be like other family members that were not in the picture that they were provided. So like now you get like other family members photobombing. Then you have strangers also show up and photobomb the session. So there's like a library of unknown people who have shown up in these sessions. Their pets have shown up, ultra terrestrial.
Wow.
Yeah, like ultra terrestrial people, like beings like that look kind of alienish.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
like other beings that look like humanoid but not. Like there's been like all sorts of stuff. So it's like not only are they getting like proof that their loved ones like alive on the other side and well, they're bringing family, they're bringing strangers, they're bringing pets, and they're bringing other beings that we are not familiar with. Like it is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Oh my God. What is her name again?
Sonia Rinaldi. So there's a documentary called Rinaldi out, and you can watch it, I think, for free now on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna
you
have to
gotta
do that
watch
for
it. It's
sure.
dope. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
it's
God.
crazy. So like it's just, and so imagine what she does, but her work is so beautiful because it's only like for research. She doesn't get paid at all. The only thing that she takes money is that if you sign up for her Patreon, on Patreon, you pay $5 a month. It supports the research to keep the research going, which I've been a member of her Patreon for like over 2 years now. And then from
Wow.
that Patreon, she'll pull volunteers for different experiments. So she'll be like, hey, are there any parents who lost a daughter to suicide? We're going to do a group just for that. Are there any people who've lost? There's like different types of loss to
Mm-hmm.
find the themes. Like she just wrapped up a big one on suicide to prove that they're like still alive on the other side and that they didn't go to hell like religion teaches them. um
Yeah.
that they're, to give their parents peace, that they're not somewhere dark and that they're okay. um there's been the one that I find crazy is that, let's say they died very young as like kids, they show up older, and
That
you're just like
that's super interesting.
you're just like, what?
Yeah.
They continued growing up on the other side, and you're just like, it's like,
Man,
you
well,
know
I don't know if you know David from Down the Rabbit Hole on Instagram, but him and I had gotten into this like deep discussion on that he thinks that like when we die, we just pop into another timeline and continue living our life.
hmm.
Like so like I had to die in another timeline to become me in this timeline. And I do feel like sometimes I don't know what it is, but there's a part of me that thinks that maybe that did happen because all of a sudden, like, I don't know, like I just feel different out of nowhere, like a few years back, and I just feel like I'm kind of like a different person. Like it's hard to explain, but like, and then you get like the things like the Mandela effect. So that's what his theory is based on, like that we're jumping timelines. That's why we remember things differently from that past timeline, and now we're in this timeline. So everything is, well, not everything, but certain things are different. So I don't know. I just
Who knows?
that's
It's wild.
pretty interesting.
Have
That's a
you
pretty
heard?
interesting theory.
Have you done any episodes on walk-ins yet?
Walk-ins? No.
Walk-in. Have you heard of walk-ins, a phenomenon?
No, I don't
I don't
think
even know
so.
what to call it. I don't know what's the proper term. So this came up on my podcast this morning. Because nobody, it's not like common knowledge, and nobody really talks about it. It's kind of falls under like, it's a spiritual topic, but it's like there's no way to prove it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So a walk-in is like you're alive, but you decide that you want to leave without dying. So you switch. So another spirit comes in and takes over your soul contract and then lives out the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Isn't that crazy? I have to
That
find
is
an expert on
crazy.
walk-ins. I don't know. I have to do more research and see if I can get someone on the show for walk-ins, because it's something that's like really crazy. But there's a
Yeah.
movie on it. When I was studying, doing my ministry, I became a Universalist minister many years ago, and it was part of our curriculum, like to watch this movie about walk-ins. And I remember that I was like,
Yeah.
like, I have not heard of this. Nobody has talked about this. Like, how do I even file this like in my brain? Like, what, you know?
Is
But
that kind of
under
like if you astral project and you leave your body and it leaves your body open to being taken
like
over by
taken
another
over?
spirit?
No, this seems more like you're making a conscious, it feels like it's like a conscious decision between like you and God and like another person. And it's like, I am done with this lifetime. I have to go because of XYZ trauma. Like I can't stay and like endure this lifetime anymore. And
Okay.
then I'm gonna make a contract with another soul to like come in and take over. And I don't know. I don't do soul contracts and all that stuff. I'm not like, I haven't done a lot of research on it. I know a lot of people believe in like having a soul contract, but then you get into walk-ins and like taking over contracts, and it's just like, where is this coming from, and how are we getting it? But I'm trying to remember, like it would happen, like it seems like the theme was under traumatic events, like 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 um like depression or accidents or different things where like they're just like done and they leave, or they're very sick and they can't endure anymore. Um, and so they have someone else come in, and I don't know. Like that's as much as I know outside of like that movie. And then what I heard this morning, that they had also like 2 walk-ins, and I'm like,
What? Wow.
I'm like, what?
That's crazy. I've never heard of that before. I think I'm gonna try and find somebody who's
Yeah,
like
let me know. And
intelligent on that part and try and get them on here and talk about it, because that's super interesting. I
That's
want to know
super
more about it.
interesting. I wonder, I have to really spend time, or even look on Apple Podcasts to like just search for walk-ins and see if anybody's ever talked about it. I'm sure somebody must have written a book on this. Like, if there's a movie on it, there has to be like something.
Yeah. I'm sure there's
I'll
podcasts
let
out
you
there
know what
that's
I'll
covered it.
find. Let's exchange notes.
Yes. I'm down for
Because
that.
for
For
sure,
sure.
'cause it's too unique and like interesting. But yeah, so that's all I've got to share, as far, unless you want to like pick my brain about anything else. But those were like all the stories I had.
Oh, okay. So you never experienced really anything that stands out as like growing up, other than like the UFOs and like the little like weird random occurrences?
The growing up that stood out to me always was when I was like 15 years old, and I was living in my mom and me had townhouses, but we were right next, we were neighbors, like
Yeah.
literally neighbors. And I was home alone, and my mom lived next door. And I was taking a nap during the day, and I swear that I heard my mom like call my name out, to the point that I jumped out of bed and I turned around to like look and expect to see her, and she wasn't there. And then I called her and I was like, "Were you just here?" She's like, "No, I haven't been at your house. Like nobody's, I haven't been there." And I was like, something just called out my name, and I legit like jumped out um of my skin and expected to see her, and I didn't. And then that was something that like always stood out to me because it felt like so real. Like it's things has seemed to call out to me when I'm sleeping. And so or I'm like, y'all need to stop. This isn't cute. Um, even at the same time, like I think I was a little bit younger, same house, same room, and I was sleeping again. And so this one freaked me out because something was like put their hand like on my shoulder. And I remember that I freaking like freaked out. I was like, holy cow, when I was terrified. And I was like, oh my God, something's touching me. Like, what the hell do I do? I think I just like might have prayed and cried myself to sleep. Like that might have been because I don't think I had the balls to look or to even know. And I think I knew that there was nothing in my room technically. Um, Another time, the only bad like experience that I've had was at a cousin's house growing up. And I was probably like a tween, and I went to sleep, and something was up in that room because I started getting like all of these like visions of dark images like flying like towards my face, almost like if I was hallucinating in a way, but I couldn't like open my eyes and make it stop. And it was just like all of a sudden I was like all black, and I kept seeing like crazy images like flying at me like towards my face. And I was terrified. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? I don't know. Like, I remember I was too scared to even get up and like leave the room because it was almost like I couldn't make it stop. I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't open my eyes. Like nothing would make it go away. I remember at that point, I just had like the covers over my head, and I fell asleep like praying for it to go away. Um, I still don't have like any explanation about what happened that day. I think I was even too scared to bring it up to my cousins like when it happened. Um, that was all I will have to think like, it's the only super dark, scary moment I've ever had was that as a teenager.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm glad it was you, not me. I mean, I've had my own
I'm lucky.
terrifying incidences too, so but do you have before I let you go and all that, do you take guests onto your podcast, or is
I
it just
do
you talking about certain things?
both. I take guests and I also talk about topics.
Okay. All
I
right.
actually remembered one story if you want one more.
Yeah, of course. I'm always down.
And well, to end on a positive note.
Oh, yeah.
So this one was probably the best story. So I made my list based on like paranormal stuff, but we're just talking about all things unexplained and phenomenon. So I said the worst one, which is when I was little. The best one was in my early 30s. I was around the time that Robin Williams and had passed away, and the other guy, um, that famous chef, Anthony Bourdain, they had died like around close to each other. And I was home alone in my apartment. I went to sleep. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain. Like they call this maybe like your shaman death. I've asked many people and they just don't really know how to explain it. There's only like one term that I found that kind of makes sense. So they call it like when you have your shaman death. So I just had like this feeling that did not feel like a dream whatsoever, where my chakras turned off like one by one. And it started from my root chakra, and it went from the root and it turned off the red and the orange and the yellow, and it starts going, and it all starts turning off till I finally get out to my crown. Everything turns off and I shoot out of my body.
What?
And it was like everything just turned off and I'm out. And all of a sudden, I'm like in this darkness, but it's not bad. It's just like I'm everything. And it was just this feeling of euphoria and oneness and expansiveness. And it was just like, oh. And I remember thinking, like, this feels amazing. No wonder nobody wants to come back after they die when they have a near-death experience,
Mm.
because this feels amazing. And I didn't see anyone, or it wasn't God, there wasn't Jesus, like there was no lights, there was nothing. It was just like I shot out into this like nowhereness. I felt this expansiveness connected with everything, just like euphoria, and just my heart exploding open like this. And I remember feeling how amazing. And I'm just having that one thought, like, oh, this is why no one wants to come back. And then I was back in my body. And I was devastated. And I sobbed for hours and hours and hours because I was back in my body and back here. In me doing like research about NDEs, like near death experiences, it seems like what I experienced was that I had an NDE, because they've talked about like the chakras turning off and you leaving. And that's exactly what happened to me. But it feels weird saying an NDE because I was like literally home in my apartment, a healthy 30-something-year-old. Like, why would I die and come back for no reason? And it wasn't like I had any health complications before or after that. So it made no sense. But if we want to, the closest thing that I have found in my research is an NDE. So that was just why.
Yeah, that's kind of that's I say interesting a lot, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, what else do you say? Because you're like, what?
Wow, to have that experience and not like, what did you do? Just like lay down and take a nap or something, and this happened, or?
It was in the middle of the night when it happened, and when I came back and I like came back and realized I was in my body and that I was back here, I just remember crying throughout the whole night. Like I was just crying at least for like 2 hours straight, and then I think eventually dozed off again. And then the next day I was like, next days, no, days, months, and years, I was like, what the hell was it? I went to my shaman mentor. I went to my therapist, who's a universalist minister and has studied like all of these global religions. I had like asked a million people, like, what was this? And nobody really knew. And it really, now lately, when I had done all this research on NDEs, that's kind of the closest thing. But I'm like, why would I have had an NDE? Like, I wasn't in an accident. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Very. I agree with your
Right?
sentiment. That is
Strange.
very peculiar. That way I don't
Like
use the same word.
synonyms for interesting.
Well, I did see too that you went out on a investigation.
I did. Yeah, with Gina. I think you had her on the show.
Yeah, she was the first person that I did not know. So my first 2 episodes were with 2 friends, and then I did my 3rd episode by myself, and then the 4th episode was Gina, and she was the first person that I ever reached out to be on the show. So, and I was so nervous and like just sending that first message, but she's not only
great.
was she was great to talk to, she was so friendly, and it was so helpful to have somebody like her to be the first person that I talked to. So It was a lot of it was a lot of fun. I had to record with her twice because I was still learning, and the first time we recorded, like all of the audio was gone. I
Was
was just like,
wacky.
no, I have to
Oh my
message
God.
her. Luckily, I like listened back like right after,
Oh, good.
in that time. But now that I know how everything works, like I don't have to like instantly like make sure everything is good. It's so that's pretty helpful. But yeah, she was the first person that I ever had on, technically, that I didn't know. So
Where are you
I'm
located?
super grateful for her.
Where are you located?
Maine.
Oh, okay. So you're not local.
No, no.
You're in Maine.
Uh, yeah, I was in Miami a couple in October. That was fun. That was the first time I've ever
Okay.
been to Florida. So,
I
and I
treated you
was
good
gonna,
because Miami's rough.
yeah, yeah. There's parts of it that I was just like, I don't want to be here. But we spent most of the time, we were on Miami Beach.
Oh,
That's where
okay.
we stayed. And then
Hmm.
we spent one of the days in Key West, so that was pretty cool.
Okay. All right. You did like
Um,
touristy
eh,
stuff.
yeah, and I was gonna try and meet up with some of the people from Haunted South Florida, but like right before I went down, I guess they kind of like disbanded or something. I don't know.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was that? What was that investigation like for you?
It was fun. I feel so it's not, I was more out of curiosity. I literally was just like, you know what? I want to see if there's any like ghost hunting happening around. And I like joined a few Facebook groups and I was just curious, like I like the gadgets and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Not wanting to like get into the dark, deep, scary stuff, but just kind of wanting to play with the stuff. And I found, I think on the local like Eventbrite or something app, I had found excuse me, the event. It was just like haunted South Florida when we're gonna investigate. Like there were like 15 minutes from my house. And I was like, oh my God, there's a place where they're actually doing investigations, like right down the
Nice.
street on a Saturday night. I'm like, this is fresh. So like let's go do that. It was $35. Like it was like donated to like kids with Down syndrome and then oh actually I'm wrong. I'm totally making up that story. That is not how it happened. Maybe that's how I wanted it to happen. That is not how.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
My bad. It was a different rabbit hole. What happened was that's hilarious. My sister went to go to a train museum in South Miami. There's like some train museum. And Tim, which is the other Tim, the long-haired ghost hunter, I think is his Instagram profile,
Yeah.
who is part of Gina Investigates with Tim. Tim was at the museum doing like his event and he had
Uh,
all the tools and my sister met Tim there and she got to play with the tools and said that she met this cool guy and she got his information. And then I had gotten his information, followed him on Instagram. Then I started like seeing like who he was tagging in the pictures and like wanting to just kind of connect with more locals who were doing it. And then I loved her branding because it's like cute and creepy. And you know how like all of my art and illustration work is all like that cute stuff.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, and she's like the cute stuff and ghost hunting, and I love her branding. And I was like, let me follow her too. So I just spent like probably a couple months just kind of following them and seeing what they were doing until the post showed up online about the event. And then I was like, great, they're doing something local, and I signed up and I just met them. I've only gone investigating twice with her at this place. And it's really low key. Like it's not like we're going to investigate a place that's been complaining of poltergeist, like, and we're
Right.
gonna see what crazy shit's in this house. Like, I don't know if I would sign up for that. I think I'd be fine if I didn't have a kid and I didn't I wouldn't have to worry of bringing something home.
Yeah.
But now that I see how sensitive she is to anything, I'm like, I can't even mess with anything crazy like that. So they just investigate this like historical place in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and it's just kind of like passerby spirits. They have EVP phenomenon, one creepy doll, they have an old schoolhouse, they believe there's like a little kid there, a man in this house. Like there's like resident spirits and passerbyers in these three old buildings. And it's just kind of like very gentle ghost hunting. We'll grab EVPs, the EMF things will go off, we'll capture stuff for sure. But the only thing that's been crazy that I've seen there, the two times that I've only done it, has been with that creepy nun doll that she has on her profile. And
that
she's
thing is
no
creepy.
she's no joke, okay?
Yeah.
I have sat with this doll once that was not cute. I was
Oh
like,
my God. I don't like dolls anyway, so
no, I don't like dolls
I
either.
don't care if they're cute.
No, and she is like just creepy yellow eyes, and then the EVPs are
Ugh.
like, she's just fucking screaming at you, and then shit's all the gear is going off while she's screaming at hell no.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, no, no thanks. I'll go like, do all the other stuff. But I sat because the very first day that I showed up, they're like, look at this EVP we got with the nun doll that they just got. And they play it and it's like,
Oh my gosh.
I was like, all the hairs stood up in my body. And then at the end, they're like, let's go sit with the doll again and do a Instagram live and see what else we capture. And again, they capture like more crazy shit. And I was like, I'm good after today.
That's hilarious.
Oh, good. Like for me, my whole interest of like the paranormal investigation tools were like, how can we use this technology? More like Sonia Rinaldi's work, like how do we use this technology to help people heal their grief, to give them peace of mind about their loved ones, to give them messages of any unresolved like stuff that might be going on, to give them just like peace. How do we do this for the purpose of like healing and helping people be okay with their loved one passing? And we have this technology, and how can we use that more than let's go hunt some demons or anything crazy? And sometimes people genuinely, like the people that like Tim has a lot of integrity around, like he doesn't charge when he does paranormal investigations. If you have crazy stuff going on in your house, he'll investigate for free and full report and all these things because they want to help the family. So, and it's not that what they're doing is for fun, is for shits and giggles, they're really helping, but it's not my jam. Like I want to do it more like in a mediumship kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. So I don't know if you know Deborah. She goes by Paranormal Paradigma on Instagram. She's also located in Florida. I think she'd be a really good guest for your podcast if you're interested.
What's her name? Deborah?
Deborah, yeah. On Instagram, she goes by Paranormal Paradigma.
Okay. Thanks.
She's a wicked sweet lady. She writes for Paranormality magazine, but she also it tries to help with the healing process of like people who have paranormal encounters, and wants to try and like kind of like she has a website and stuff trying to deal with removing the stigma of paranormal experiences from therapy. So like and like the professional therapeutic like aspect of this person's crazy because they think that they're hallucinating or whatever, more like treat it like that it actually happened, what regardless of whether it was like hallucinated or not. Like it's not really, to me, a therapist shouldn't just assume that what you're experiencing is fake. or
Mhm.
hallucinated, so
Right, right.
that's what she's one of the many things that she is working on. So
Interesting. Thanks for that. Yeah, I'll definitely check her out.
yeah, she's super sweet. She actually wrote an article about me in the show on Paranormality magazine. So I'm super grateful for
Nice.
her. So
Congratulations. I'll check it
anytime,
out.
thank you. Anytime I can like try and help her out or plug her in any kind of way, I love doing so, just because she's become a pretty good friend. So
Oh, that's awesome. I love it when we meet people like that,
yes,
especially through the show,
absolutely.
the blessing of having a podcast and meeting amazing people.
Yeah, I've made so many friends doing this. I'm sure you have too. Talking to
How many
people.
episodes do you have now?
Episode 78 comes out on Wednesday, so
Nice.
it's getting there. I think technically April will mark 2 years. I think
78, 2 years podcasting. That's good.
technically 2 years, but I didn't really get like I didn't really hit the ground running until November of 22. So technically, November would have been my first year. So next November would have been 2 years. But technically, everything was set up and
Mhm.
ready to go, and the first two episodes came out in like April, May.
Mhm.
So, tech like technically, I've said that word 10 times now, but originally
At least you
it
didn't
came
say
out in
interesting.
April. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean the thought was born in my head in like March or February, March of 22, and then it just I bought the stuff and I put it together in April 22. So,
Well,
um,
congratulations, because doing
thank you.
70 something episodes of a podcast is a huge act of power.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
it's only the beginning still. They say like don't
Exactly.
quit don't even think about quitting until you've passed like the 100 episode marker, because you're just getting started. Like don't even expect results from episode 0 to 100. And that's when, you really start seeing like results after that, or at least have enough data to determine whether you want to proceed or not.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've stuck at it, I'm only in episode like 40 something now. I think we probably started around the same time. My daughter was born July 2020. I don't even remember. I don't even remember if I started before or after. I think I don't even. My life is a blur. The last 3 years are really a blur. Something like
I
that.
can feel that. I can feel that for sure. There's
Mm,
definitely moments in time where I'm just like, did that even really happen?
yeah, I
Did
even
I,
forget how
did
old
I,
I am.
yeah,
Like I'm at that age now where I'm like, I don't even know how old I am.
I thought, looking when you first reached out to me, however long ago now, because it was a while ago. Um, it was before I went to Florida, so I think, anyways,
Yeah, because it was
I
supposed to be before.
yeah, and I was just like, oh, this is another young lady with gray hair. Because I have a friend that's like the same age as me, but her hair completely turned gray, and you had like I don't know, were they
The
dreads?
extensions,
Oh,
the
extensions.
colorful extensions,
Those were cool. I will
they
say
were,
those
can
were
I
pretty
tell you,
dope.
they were dope and they were annoying AF.
Oh yeah, I
I,
I can see how they could get annoying.
I wigged
Uh,
out. I couldn't last longer than 2 weeks with them.
oh yeah. Oh my
But
goodness, that's funny. And then
yeah,
you at the beginning you saying that you were older than I am now when you first started having kids. I was like, what the hell? You're old. I didn't even realize. I thought you would have been younger than me, honestly.
oh, thanks. I appreciate
So
it. That's because
yeah.
Zoom has that beautify filter. I have that on like all the time.
I think all women do at this
And
point.
Yeah, it's the way of life. It's the way of life. Thank God for these filters at this point now that I'm over 40. 'Cause
That's great.
this whole motherhood has me tired. Oh my God.
Oh, I bet. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes, you know? Like it's really cool like when they do stuff that that makes you so proud, but then when they do like like today my kids just constantly stop. I'm like, "Oh my God, if I have to hear that word one more time, I'm going to lose my mind." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when they come home with like, "Hey, look, I have straight A's," or "I got
Aw,
like this award at school," like that's pretty cool, you know what I mean?
it
So,
is definitely. Yeah, there's no words to it until you go through it. I don't feel like there's any words that can describe what it feels like to have a kid.
absolutely.
Because I don't like lying to people either and be like, oh yeah, it's the most magical thing. Like, dude, this shit's hard.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's very.
Super hard.
It's very.
Um, but yeah, those amazing moments, and I'll have more of those moments as she gets older because like this whole toddler life, baby and then toddler, and then plus like a chronic illness. Like the chronic illness really stole a lot of like those magical motherhood like moments.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You just gotta be ready to have a kid if you have a kid. and
Absolutely.
and it will force you to grow in ways that are unfathomable. And they will be like your biggest mirrors of all of your traumas and weaknesses, and they'll just put that back in your face whether you like it or not, and you'll become very much aware of your own triggers, and then you have to heal them, or you're gonna you're gonna wound somebody else. You're gonna say like wounded
Absolutely.
people like wound other people. Like it's just so you have to take responsibility for your healing, so you don't pass on any generational bullshit.
I agree 110%. Um, because I raised my kids completely different than the way that I was raised. So, um, and I think their turn. I actually had a conversation with my son one time. I was like, I don't want you to be like great or like fantastic. I just want you to be better than me. And like, I said this to him when he was like 10, and I can't remember why. Yeah, I think he was like having like a meltdown or something. And I just, I sat down on his bed or whatever, and I was like, I don't expect you to be like this amazing human being. I was like, you're already amazing because you're my son. And I'm
Mhm.
always gonna think that of you. I was like, but my whole goal is for you to be just better than me. I was like, and that's all I want to help you to achieve. And ever since then, I don't know, like it was just like he tries a lot harder now at like things to just to be good at them or something. I don't it's hard to explain, but it was just like a switch flipped in his head, and he just when I would say something to him about doing something, he was just like, yeah, do it, and stuff like that. And it became so much
Nice.
easier to talk to him after that.
That's an amazing story. I love that.
Thank you.
Mm.
So, but anyways, we're approaching 2 hours. So,
Holy moly.
yeah, if you don't mind, just telling everybody where they can find you and where they can find your podcast.
Sounds good. So please spell my name in the show notes because it's really
Absolutely.
long. But they can find me at nataliecalzadilla.com or Natalie Calzadilla on Instagram. If you want to phonetically sound it out as Calzadilla. And
I wasn't gonna attempt to say it.
it's Calzadilla in Spanish, Calzadilla if you're not Hispanic. And then you can check out through my website, you can find the link for the podcast. If you can spell Pachanga, then kudos. Then you can do Pachanga and Possibility. or just look for Natalie Calzadilla on whatever podcast platform that you listen. Also, I have my Etsy shop with all of my art. My art is very cute and pastel and full of unicorns. So if you're into that kind of stuff and into spirituality, it's pretty much, I call it like the cutest mindfulness movement you've ever seen. It's promoting meditation and mindfulness through my illustrations. So if you like cute stuff, then head on over to Etsy. And that's also nataliecalzadilla.etsy.com. And eventually, I'll offer healing services again online. But for now, I have a Patreon that I started. Now that I launched season 3, I'm going to do it together with a Patreon and hopefully also provide some exclusive content on there, as well as events and an opportunity for the audience to engage with the guests or to preload questions that they want me to ask or do live call-in. I have a live call-in feature into the podcast now. So hopefully if we do something cool like mediums or psychics, you can get a reading maybe live. So we have cool things. When I say we, it's me. I don't know who else I'm including. Maybe me and my future virtual assistant. I'm not sure. Me and my spirit animal. I don't know.
Your soul team.
Me and my soul team are going to bring the content, bring the good stuff. So just come check it out. And that's pretty much what's going on.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Natalie, and I really appreciate your stories. And I mean, like I tell everybody, this show wouldn't be much of a show if I was just talking to myself. Without people like you, I'd just be talking to myself. Not that I wouldn't talk to myself, but I don't know if it'd be as entertaining. You know what I mean?
I get it. So, I do the same thing. I like a mix of solo episodes and guest episodes. I know the feeling. So it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. And it was really nice meeting you and getting an opportunity to share these stories that I probably wouldn't share in other places.
Well, I appreciate you sharing them. They were all very interesting. And if you ever want to come back on to do like a presentation on anything like that, like anything that you've researched or whatever, you're more than welcome to do so as well. But yeah, other than that, everybody, that is the show. So please, I'm going to put all of her stuff in the show notes. So if you are having a hard time understanding how to spell anything, it'll be down there. So but other than that, please like, follow, share, subscribe, leave a rating and a review. I would 100% be grateful for that. And if you like this episode, definitely rate this episode for sure. And send anybody that you know that would be interested in Natalie's podcast to her podcast as well. But other than that, everybody, I hope you have a good day and I hope you have a good night, whatever time you decided to listen to this. Oh shoot, I almost forgot. Also, the Etsy. Check out my Etsy. I have so many t-shirts that you should check out. It's etsy.com/shop/where-the-weird-ones-are. So anyways, question everything and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.